welcome to the conversation. I'm your co-host Alistair Sampson, and we have with us as always Mr. Christopher Crossley, aka Mr. Crossley, sir. Also
Yes,
Micaiah
yes.
Wilson, aka Mr. Fitme, aka Mike the Trainer. All right, how you all doing tonight?
Good.
Well, we had the fine few scattered showers, not yellow alert, but you know,
Ah,
always
boy.
the chance of this slight thunder shower.
Some of this thing. Seaside to moderate waves up to 2 meters in open waters and less than 1 in
One meet
sheltered areas.
sheltered areas.
It's like a repeated strip over and over.
You know what I mean? For real.
Yeah, boy.
For real, for real, for real.
You know we just do it. Just
Yeah,
cross with
well,
the COVID check.
I mean, special good night once again to everybody tuned in. This is, another night here in the conversation. I hope everyone have a good week since last week Tuesday. We're catching up with everybody. So, gents, as always, how has it been? I mean, the last week, I don't think should have been too eventful. Talk to
True,
me.
true, true. This weekend, go on. I stay home this weekend.
Right?
Decided to stay indoors. I don't know if I'm gonna be seeing for all year, but I stay indoors. I trying to say that I had a choice, but you know how it was. All right,
Indeed.
it was relatively quiet. Stay indoors,
Oh, choice.
do our part. Do what we had to do. What about for you, Mike?
Um, like you, I chose to stay indoors, and no, but honestly, this week was what wasn't bad. It was a nice week. I think the I've been trying as much as possible to keep myself as distant from the panic as possible. So I'm good.
From the panic, you see.
From the panic, yeah, everybody getting panic about what vaccine they have and what vaccine they don't have. And I said, let's take a breather.
I try not to pay attention to that at all. Because for me, ever since the pandemic came about and the lockdown, when you understand how to deal with anxiety and stuff like that, you need to unplug.
Yeah.
So for me, the last week, but as always, working on myself, personal development. Over the weekend, I attended the Better Man Expo. That's put on by Hamels, which was really good, and that actually kind of fueled me to get some things that I had on the back burner back going. So I've been working on that since basically over the weekend. So people could actually stay tuned to that. New things in the works.
Yeah, sure.
But I've been doing my best to keep that balance, and fitting. That is exactly what we're discussing
Oh,
tonight.
Yeah.
Having this work-life balance during a pandemic. Now, let me separate the pandemic for a little bit. The biggest question has always been: is it possible to have a work-life balance? We are the pandemic just now. But let me just deal with work-life balance by itself. Do you guys think that that's actually something that's possible?
So many. Honestly, there are so
I
many
love the
schools are
topic.
taught. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is indeed a topic. It has so many schools are taught in terms of it. Some people say yes because you had to be able to put all the energy and the time towards one particular aspect and be able to do that same thing with another part of the aspect. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then there are others that say that if you really look at it, in that balance, something has to give. Something has to give out. Is either the work may have to suffer a little bit, or the personal life will have to suffer a little bit. It's very difficult at times to try to keep the both areas in equilibrium and to keep everything at a happy level. Those are the two extreme schools of thought with respect to work-life balance in terms of how people speak about it. Me personally, I believe yeah, there is some truth in terms of trying to keep a balance or try to manage your energy so that you'll be able to fit in the different aspects of your life. But again, it has to do with like more the high priority items in your life itself, because you can't do every single thing. At least that's all looking at it from that perspective.
All right.
Yeah. I think for me, over the years, my understanding or my belief in the concept of work-life balance has changed a lot over the years, because initially it was supposed to be that you could balance work and life is just two individual pieces that could be balanced by individual scheme. And over the years, I began realizing that it's more than just two items. Life has a lot of different variables that are moving pieces on the board. It's not a simple case of two. When you go to the market and they have these solid weights that they put onto the scale to compare against whatever you're putting on. Life is like that. Life has objects that are flat, that are round, that have different shapes, so it's not as easy to balance them against different things as people may think. So I believe the concept of work-life balance, meaning that there's a perfection of two equal parts, is not exactly what I believe work-life balance is. Yeah.
All right. For me, I think it comes down to which side you want the scale to tip on is actually where it balances for the individual.
Yeah.
If it is the need to focus on work, or there are people that are very, work driven, and you'll find that the percentage they give to getting their tasks and work done versus the rest of their life, whether it's social life, family life, they give the percentage of attention that they need to give, and to them there is that balance, or I would even say that harmony, based on the thing that they want to achieve. Some people will be the opposite. Some people know they rather give more at home with their family and whatnot, and whether it's with friends, that lifestyle part of it. And work as well, work. I'll do that, I get it done, out of the way, out back of mine. When 4 o'clock reach, the clock out, that is it. And they find their balance or their harmony that way by focusing on that. So let's now input a pandemic where things would have shifted, whether it's on the work side and or the family side. For those who would have usually gone to work, many work at home now, many work on rotation. There are people who find working from home make them work less, and there are those that are at home now and are hyper productive. They just keep going, right? And so then now you find sleep cycles change and all these other habits start to change, which now throw off, which would have been the balance on the life side, right? So what do you think is a factor there now because of the pandemic that people could, or people should be considering right now in terms of that balance? Because it's something that is definitely like a full glass of water and drop the block of ice in it overflows. Because that was the unexpected thing. So yeah,
I think now is a case of understanding, right? And when I say understanding, I mean that previously there was a study of thought about work-life balance where we have work and a separation of home and these different things. They were typically two clear parts of our life, and people could say, don't carry work home and don't bring your home life in work.
Yeah.
Sure.
But for most people now, work is home and home is at work.
Home is at work, yeah.
Right? Because we get up from one room in the house to go to another room, or in the same room, or in the kitchen, or whatever. Most rooms in our house now become multitasking rooms where we do the regular house chores and house duties, and you also incorporate your work life into it. So there's now a spilling over of those two lives into the same physical space. And when that happens, it tends to then spill over into the same mental space, because then people can't escape from work. Likewise, people can't escape from home.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Some people go to work just to get away from what they're wrong. Some people come home because they can't take work anymore. They just need to be around their family to be centered again.
Yeah.
But now, exactly where you'll sit to watch TV and be stressed is where you sit to do work.
Mm-hmm.
True.
So it becomes a space that is now in your mind, two-tone, but it gives two different emotions at the same time in the same space now.
Correct.
So that kind of now brings a whole new dynamic to what work-life balance could be, because now we can't really separate those two things anymore. At least clearly.
Clearly, right?
Yeah.
And what about those that used to want to okay, you know, in Trinidad especially, we have an after work lime type of culture, right? And for a lot of people who used to go and de-stress by the bar or hang out, if it's by the savannah, watch football, you know, before going home, no longer have that.
Oh, yeah.
So now you find it taken, they have, who may still go to work and go to the office, now have to will now go home with the habit that they would have had outside, whether they overly stressed at home because they're not getting to go and hang out, or they may take the drinking habits at home, and then who at home have to deal with them.
Yeah.
Right? So they now could be interrupting the balance of those at the house in their homes.
Yeah.
True.
Very true.
Which is another factor, right? Which is something why I really hope that whether it's this government, any governments across the world, do have something in that will be dealing with mental health in general because of this pandemic, because we see where it is very, very vital now. So let me look at it from the other side too, Mike. People who, right, at home, husband and wife. Now, usually you would have been going to work for whatever hour in the morning, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever, right? So you come home, let's say you get home at 6:30, right? Usually, and let's say you go to bed at probably 10, right? So you have now that basically 4.5 hour space or 3.5 hour space, right? Now you have the full day with the person. So naturally, the time that you are spending, let's say over the last 2 years, would have actually equated to 5 to 6 years if you were going to work.
True.
Right?
True.
That is actually something we were working on last night. That which is so funny. The hours you would have spent going to work, coming home, and just being in that space with somebody has now quadrupled.
Yeah.
So the time period you would have had together over 5-6 years happened within the last 2 years. If we count in the hours, right?
Yeah, if we count in the quantity of the hours, yeah.
Right. So the issues now that you would have probably dealt with over 5 years, you would have had to deal with being in each other's face over the last 2.
So here's the amazing thing about that, Chris.
Yeah.
How are you balancing that?
Here what I think. I think like with every coin has, and in my belief, 3 sides, 2 faces and that edge, right?
Yeah.
That edge. The edge. There are people who are going to benefit from this, and there are those who are going to suffer because of it.
Right.
And then there are those who are going to get the reality check to understand the situation better. Right? I think when it comes to balance, it's a matter of choice at the same time. Right? So you have the people, I'll use myself as an example.
Right.
My hours are normally very long. They're still very long, but I'm home.
Right.
And for me, I'm really happy about that, because one way I would be on the road consistently and thinking about being home.
Right.
Now I'm home and I'm just really glad to be home. Right? You know, and like I said, Chris, it's like a whole different dynamic in terms of your relationship with your spouse, with your family, that kind of thing, that you learn more, you see more.
Correct.
You see sometimes what you may have been missing. You see where you may have left a gap that you could have been doing better to fill, that kind of thing. And then you could get on each other's nerves. It's very possible all things can happen. Right? But it gives you a chance to mature together in a different way. If you're able to identify it and accept that, hey, we could both make adjustments now to be better.
Correct.
Or you could just say, you know what, I go and rent an apartment and you what's up. Because there's an exciting going. We had to be really let it have those people that have that literally happening to know.
I can't handle you
It's
right now.
sad.
Go on.
Yeah,
Yes.
and have people doing that and say that I get called to work and they're not going to work.
Yeah.
Let me real.
Legit.
I mean,
Legit.
it also look at it right now in terms of what people really use as coping mechanisms now, and for
Right.
because of the pandemic, a number of places that you would have gone before have been stripped away, or as they say in Black Panther, have been stripped away. You know, you can't go to any restaurants right now. You're not able to go by the bar. You can't go online. There's a number of these things like that. So, what people use to de-stress has now been removed from the equation. What are you putting in place in terms of it? Some people put in work in place of it now, which could cause an imbalance, and some people put in other unhealthy items within there. I think now, because of how things are, we really need to explore what are the healthy elements that you need to include now, based on where we are as a pandemic, to keep a effective, I can't even say a balance, but to keep your sanity, in a matter of speaking, based on where we are right now. I think that's where we really had to look at too.
Correct. So that being said, gents, let's help the people find some ways to deal with this, or find ways to have better coping mechanisms for this work-life balance during a pandemic. I think one, definitely, and it's something we've touched on before in the conversation, is defining. Well, let's define first. Decluttering your space, and having a defined space that is strictly for work, that is away from that leisure side of your home. So, granted, you may not have been prepared to have a home office. So if it's a certain corner of your bedroom, if it's a certain chair on your dining table, or if it is, you can set up a small area for your corner for a little home office, do so. But before you do that, ensure that you declutter, because you'll find that you don't want to create a workspace within a clutter, because that will just add to the heaviness of the space.
Correct.
So you want to declutter first, and then create that area that is meant for you to sit down and focus and make sure to do work. We understand, kids might be home, you're home with your spouse, everybody just make noise, people just had their own meetings going on and whatnot, phone calls, phone ringing, these kind of things. Is different from the office. Even though, when you think about it, it's not too different with the noise, right? But you're still able now to know what I can get up from this seat and I can go into the living space, the TV room, wherever, and it's not going to feel as though you're still in work, or you're still in that space that, may trigger, hey, I forget I have something else to do, and you go back to doing it.
Yeah.
That is something I think, that is one thing I believe that, people can use to start help dealing with that.
I think something we sometimes overlook in this current pandemic is the switch that most employers and jobs have taken when it comes to demands on staff. Right? I think it's something we need to kind of just touch on a little bit for people to understand that number one, it is creating other issues. So, for example, a lot of people are now being given more to do than they would have been given when they were actually at the office.
Yeah.
And it's not because they could be more productive. It's because the most employers believe that they're not as productive as they could be. They believe that, okay,
people home slacking, they think people.
because it's so much of an unknown factor. They can't physically see or monitor you like that.
They have no other time
they think
check,
that you're not,
to see.
they think that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So they tend to try to give you more work, so you're constantly working.
Yep.
Likewise, a lot of people go through the panic of, I need my job right now, so I have to do what I'm given.
Yeah.
So if they give me more, I make sure I get that done. And we create a cycle where the employer thinks we're not doing enough, so we therefore do more. And then when we do more, they say they think we can handle more, so they give us more. And it just keeps going up and up and up, till eventually you burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And sad to say, even if you have a dedicated workspace, burnout can happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And-
so
Yeah.
Anyway, correct.
anyway, and at any time, and we need to understand that. I'm not telling anybody to not do the work, that's not what I'm saying. But first, to any employers that are here in this conversation, in the human resource management realm, there's still a need for healthy habits for your staff.
Right.
You understand? For them to be able to have a balanced life, for them to be more productive, because in economics, there's something called the law of diminishing marginal return,
Mm-hmm.
where something will give you a output for a period of time and it'll be going up, it'll be looking good,
Mm-hmm.
and then the same effort will begin to give you less. The same conditions will yield less benefit.
Correct.
So
Right.
eventually, all that employers are doing now to push more of the staff is going to begin to dip.
Correct.
And people are going to become way less productive. They're going to be more sick leave being called from home. People are going to be taking more time. People are going to be getting stressed out and
Yeah.
blowing off the cuff on meetings, and
Correct.
the family will feel the burn, kids will feel the burn. It's going to go all the way around. So that needs to be factored into the balancing act that people have to do now. The fact that from that perspective, it's becoming more and more challenging.
Correct.
Well, there's an answer for that, you know.
Hmm.
Setting bloody boundaries, man. Hey, I
Some
work
people.
at 8 and I stop at 4.
Yeah.
But you see,
Yeah.
Chris, that's the thing. It's
Hey.
because of the fact that we're in a pandemic and there are people being laid off, jobs being cut. Employers normally think they can monopolize time now by saying, "Here, what you need this job."
I need the job, but the job have working hours, which is stipulated by my roles and responsibilities. That is part of the HR policy. I work between 8 and 4 or 9 and 5, whatever the set hours of the
So here
of
the
the
worker
operations
will
of the
give it.
business.
Here the worker will go hit you. All right, so you're working from 8 to 4, right? And you need to get 5 reports done between 8 and 4,
That's okay.
which normally would
I-
take you a week to do. I want
No,
all
no,
5
no, no,
between
no.
8 and 4 today.
Well, right. No, well, they can do that. They can do that. But once again, it comes down to what is humanly possible, right?
That's the thing. Yeah,
And
correct.
no, and I'm sorry, I am one of those. I don't care about no employer. I am a human being. I drop down. Is my family losing me? You will just hire somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Now there's a
There they
big,
go.
there's a big caveat to this as well too. You have some employees who were already workaholics prior
Well,
to the pandemic,
yeah, that's something else. That is something else.
who turn beasts and don't know when to switch off because okay, at home I can really get more
Right,
done out.
hyper-productive.
Yeah, and they're like that. And then they have the scary part of it as well because remember again, this pandemic is not going to be on for centuries or anything like that. It's going to come to an end. What are going to be the expectations of employers now when persons have to go back into the workplace? Are they going to expect that level of productivity to happen as well during this particular time? Because some people might say, well, hey, person was home and was able to deliver all of this. All right, they're capable of that. And now, is it that this is a new bar that is going to be set now in the workplace in terms of delivering items? It's all of these things that they had to look at now, you know. And again, it's because of what you put in the energy towards and how is that energy being managed as well too. It's just to be really mindful in terms of what's going on here. And I think a lot of employers need to take cognizance of that. The kind of push that you put on persons, okay, saying they're home, they don't have the commute and everything like that. Commute itself was one stress.
Yeah.
It's not that stress is being diminished, you know. It's like stress is now being shifted from commute now to being the amount of things that you're doing in work, and it's a slippery slope. And persons have to be
Very
really
slippery.
mindful of that. That is where we have to be very careful of.
Right. And I mean, with the whole thing with keeping a timesheet, if it's a matter of certain infrastructure technology-wise in place so that employers can see when an employee is on the job, off the job, you know, stop for lunch, these type of things, right? Which has happened. The infrastructure has been in place basically since COVID started, right? A lot of companies initiated that. But people themselves need to put that check on themselves. It shouldn't just be the employer, master with a whip technology-wise. No. So just as you create your space, create your boundaries. Even if you need, and this is where employees will have to come together. Even if you need to have this conversation with your HR and be like, look, this is what is going on via this management or this person, and it needs to be addressed. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about getting work done. We are all dealing with the pandemic in our own personal ways. A lot of people are suffering from anxiety and depression and whatnot. So it's not the same. Even though you want to give me more work, even if I am being more productive, you do have to remember, when 4 o'clock used to reach, I used to leave and go home. So don't look for me after 4. It is wrong. And by basic rules of etiquette and protocol is this: unless it's a project, right, with some matter of urgency that will take you beyond working hours, you actually don't need to respond to any correspondence, right? Whether it's email, text, phone call, you don't, after hours, you do not have to answer. You don't. That can be taken up the next day within working hours. Because just as somebody mentioned with who at home, right, helping out with the kids and whatnot, that is now one additional factor. Your kids, you say, get up, get dressed, and you send them to school, or you drop them to school. Now the kids are at home. And they have homeschooling to do. And there's a parent that's going to need to have to supervise. This parent will also have a job, right? That's so they themselves are dealing with that. So there are employers that are going to try to be that bully, but a lot of people understand now that there have to be some sort of flexibility.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will snap.
Yeah, I wanna, as I said that, Chris, I wanna also we spoke about the negative impact that some employers may have on that relationship as well, but there are employers out there that are also doing things to benefit their staff as well. I was fortunate to be on a talk with at LockJack, and they had a human resource manager there, Mrs. Johnson. She spoke about her company and what they were currently doing when it comes to staff and the pandemic.
Right.
They actually put together a new type of leave
for
parents that had kids that need to be taken care of and set up for school and online classes and exam and whatnot. They gave a particular a new type of leave just for that.
Right.
Right. People will understand how much I can help. For those parents out there, you can understand how much I will help if we have 2 fully employed parents, if we have a single mother or a single dad who's fully employed as well, that need a little time just to get things straightened out, because we know it could be sometimes you want to get everything sorted out, but time just seems to never be there to get it done. So I want to commend those type of organizations that are making those steps to make sure that their employees are able to balance between what they're required to do in work and what they need to do at home as well.
Right. So we touched on 2 things: defining and decluttering and defining a space, and setting boundaries. All right. What's your ideas on taking breaks? Because I think that is something, vital as well to help with this balance. Just as in work, you would have gotten up, taken a walk, spoken to a colleague, probably take a phone call, go get coffee. These are breaks that would have happened naturally during the day, right? So same way working at home, right? It is things that you can actually implement. If you want to use the Pomodoro method, where you work for a specific focused time period, whether it's 45 minutes or hour, and you take a break for 10 minutes and then return to work. So I think breaks are something as well that people could have in their daily routine to help with this work-life balance during a pandemic. What you guys think about that?
Actually, I not only subscribe to that, I actually implement that as part of how I work now. So I have a strict focus time in terms of when I put deep work into what it is I need to do. And even with that deep work now, I try not to split it too extreme. If I need to deal with more logical items, I deal with the logical items in that deep work. I don't do part logic and then do part creative, because your mind is switch off and you're not effective either way. So I do my deep work during that particular time, and I actually set in my task, my to-do list, 10-minute break, at least at like 10 o'clock I have something, a break there. 11:30 I have a break as well too. All these things like that. 1:30, just make sure and try to switch that as much as possible, because if you don't do that, you'll try to bite your own face if you're just staying at the screen. Right through. Definitely that is something I do. What about you, Mike? What do you put in place as well for that?
I think similar to that portions of dedicated work and break. I think it's important for people to understand that a lot of the normal schools of thought about how to do things has changed.
Yeah.
See, they're no longer in offices and different things. So we have to discover what works best for us. I'll give you guys an example. I normally most of my breaks, sometimes I play some of these word games or something on my phone. Reason being, it helps my mind to kind of go to switching between some of my tasks and also switching off a bit. Because sometimes you'll be in like I sort of said, like in a creative mood, you're doing certain things, you're going through something that is very stressful and mentally time consuming. And sometimes I take a break. There are certain games that are meant to be a bit engaging for the brain as well. I play some of those games just to kind of give myself a little break between the monotony of certain tasks and get my brain moving a little more dynamic for a while. It helps me to not really shut down after a while too, But most importantly, from a personal training perspective, it's important for us to also get up and keep moving sometimes, right? A lot of people stay at the desk for way too long. Way too long. If I have to give like 3 tips for this particular portion, it'll be 1, put a time on your phone for your breaks, so you don't forget it, right? Don't say, I remember to get up, because chances are when you get yourself deep into a particular task, you're going to forget.
Yeah.
Right? And then you look up and you realize it's 3 o'clock and you don't have lunch yet. Right?
Believe it or not, you brought a good point there, and I just want to raise
somebody very guilty of that.
Yeah. You brought up a good point, and I'll tell you why. I see we have a question, an example from Candice Suberu-Bailey, who just said, it's difficult to take breaks now with everything back to back from morning to afternoon. Resorting to wireless headsets, you can walk around doing meetings. Now, that is good in terms of, that works if it's a physical break that you're taking. At least you're getting up from a desk and you're moving around. But if you're in back to back meetings, what happens, your cognitive functionality in the meetings will start to decrease. You need that mental break between meetings as well. That's why I don't play Tetris with meetings when it comes to work, because I realize I've been guilty of that, where you feel good at you're looking like a real productive. I have meetings back to back to back to back, no breaks in between, and when the day done, you run down. You're tired from the hair down. All right,
from your hair down.
From your hair down, exactly. So what I would recommend, especially like if it's an hour meeting that you have, see if you can get the meeting to finish by 50 minutes and have that 10-minute break in between. If it's a 2-hour meeting, see if you could go on for an hour and 45 minutes and take that break in between. Try to as well, I know we spoke about it as well, and this may be for Candace and just as an answer, try to book yourself a focus time in the meeting calendar itself, where this is where you have to do work, you one-on-one inside of there, instead of being in meetings back to back every single time. Because if your calendar is filled up with just going into meetings, you'll find yourself just being chief participant in all the meetings, but you're not able to execute the items that are going on because of these meetings here. So you have to be very careful with respect to that. Just a little food for thought, Candace. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yep.
In the work itself, there's a lot of balance that people have to do right now when it comes to requirements and meetings and tasks and that kind of thing. And like Shura suggested there, using a mobile headset is really, really a benefit, because it allows you to get that physical movement. But like as I said, the mental detachment is really important too. So
Right.
if you have to, like as I said, set appointments or set timers or whatnot for these things, put it in place, and I will always tell people, share that concept in your workplace, because when more people think like it, or more people begin to try it, it'll reach necessary places for it to become a form of habit across the organization eventually.
Correct.
Don't keep it to yourself and suffer. Let somebody know this is the method I'm using. Even bring it up in a meeting, right? Because eventually people will begin to question. I just feel the same way too. I need to take a break. I can try the same thing, and after a while, it begins to take hold of the organization as a body.
Yeah.
If I just say one more thing when it comes to breaks, not everybody does things the same. So figure out what works best for you, right? I hate to tell somebody that this is what you need to do between a meeting or take a break for the day. Figure out what works best for you, right? Some people will sit down and read the papers, and that refreshes their mind. I don't know how, because to me,
same reading.
No, but the papers.
Yeah, boy. Yeah.
For some people is watching a video, some people is watching a funny video, some people is watching an informative video.
Yeah.
Some people watch something that appeals to them, and whatever fits to you, do that. Being very honest, do that, because times have changed so much with the pandemic that it's hard to tell somebody that this is the correct way to do X, Y, Z.
Correct.
It's a new grounds for everybody, so I would say see what fits and feels the best to you to avoid burning out.
Yeah. To answer your question, Candice, in order for people to respect your calendar, you have to respect your calendar. So if you set a focus time for your calendar and somebody say, well, let me have a meeting around the same time now, you ought to be able to say, no, this is the time that I'm using to be able to do X. If you keep putting off your focus time to jump into other people's meeting, they wouldn't respect your time because you're not respecting your time. It may sound kind of harsh, but it is the tough reality behind it. I have been there. So it's just some food for thought.
Right.
Yeah, Chris.
And if you want help with the breaks, right, this next tip, and I guess keeping with your life side of the balance, we're talking a lot about those that are working. Stay hydrated. Drink more water. Even though you think you're sitting down and doing work and your head is down, drink more water.
Yep.
You want to help taking a break? You'll have some bathroom breaks.
That's right.
You'll have to get up and use the bathroom. Right? But separate to that, we might be home. The place is very hot these days, right? Even if you're home and in AC, now you actually don't feel like you need to drink water. Your body's getting dehydrated just sitting down there, circulation in your legs and whatnot. Your hands are sitting away. It is
Drink water.
So from the nutritional side, it would help with this work-life balance.
Yeah.
Even though you're home and you're not physically exerting as much with commute and walking and whatnot, still ensure that you get, those, well, I don't say 8 glasses. I try to tell people drink at least 2 liters of water a day, but that's just me. Try to drink as much water as possible and keep that hydration going, because you would not believe. And then you go in a meeting, you put on a Zoom call and you realize your lips dry because you're dehydrated. Right? Then you're there like LL Cool J, people meeting licking your lips. No. We're not about that time. All right?
Yeah.
So from a nutritional point of view, Mike, I know we could talk about stretches and stuff like that while you're sitting, but I want people to understand, now that you're home, everybody I'm sure are guilty that they would have gone past having lunch at midday, sometime 1, 2, 3, and now having lunch. From a nutritional health point of view, you would think that people home are able to now do these things like eat properly. I see the look on my face already, like.
And the first sad thing is that the easier something is to get done, the more likely it will be done.
It will be done, right?
So now that food is within reach, chances are I'll get it. I will do it just now. And I'll keep pushing it back and pushing it back.
And then craft. Yeah.
And then indeed I'll just grab a biscuit and sit down and keep working.
Mhm.
Now,
Example
it
of
it has so much different ways to think about that Chris, is that number one, food is beneficial not just for when it comes to weight and these different things, but also for brain function. You need to
Right.
feed your body properly for your brain to function properly. Right? If you are not fed properly, you can get brain fog, which means that you'll be in a meeting and they're speaking and your brain is literally just in the clouds. You're not capturing any information, you're not
You're
grasping
checked out.
anything, you're just
Yep.
and then you get migraines that affects your work. You're sitting at a screen for a long period of time. That could even make those migraines more intense. So all these different things are going to make it harder and harder for your body to be able to hold up that standard of function with limited nutrition. So the best thing you can do is make sure you have breakfast. Everybody excuse me for Chris used to be that I don't have time.
I'd leave the house by
I'd leave the house, and travel on the road. I'll grab something else and go.
doubles. Pie man.
All of a sudden, everybody want to wake up. They're working for 8 o'clock. They're waking up 7:15 or 7:25 or 7:30. Jump up, fly off the bed, and
Yep.
or 7:45, 8 o'clock.
yeah, and then you dress because we know we dress from the waist up these days, right?
Right.
So you only dressing half the way, right? we go say we have on the bottom half right now, right? But
Right.
we're dressing half the way, so we taking less time to get ready. You sit down, you whatever. The funny thing is that we can do all of that, miss breakfast, and it throws off your entire day. You don't drink water, it could throw off how your body functions for the day.
Yeah.
And there are long-term effects of this. So people who may not have had acid reflux before might develop it now.
Right.
You understand? People who may not have suffered from migraines before might start to develop them now. People who were losing weight or maintaining a good weight could possibly be, I see somebody say 750. They can possibly be putting on weight now because their body is not metabolizing food as quickly because they're not moving as much.
Yeah.
I have guys who would normally have made up 10,000 steps between walking from home to get taxi, from there to get the maxi, from the maxi stop to get to the office.
Correct.
And up and down from department to department. Now a department is a click away.
Dude.
Transport is literally going from your bedroom to the bathroom to the office.
Yep.
Right? So everything is in one space. So now we burn less calories. Our body's expected to do way less. So not eating on time, then eating crap in the evening is going to simply lead to you, yes, putting on weight, but also more and more brain fog, less pure, proper brain activity.
Correct.
And internally, we're looking at the fact that we're in a pandemic, a virus is going around, that your body needs to be in its prime state to fight.
Yes.
And far from prime.
Right? So if we are doing more negative stuff to our bodies, if we might, God forbid, get in contact with that virus, even if it's not COVID, we will get hit really hard right now.
Yep.
So we need to make sure our body's being taken care of so we can fight these things.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Just
yes,
to
sir.
try now.
You go ahead.
Just to train a little plug in here. For persons who on YouTube, if you click on this link right above, in terms of managing physical health, you'll be able to see one of our past videos as well too with respect to that. So these are for all our YouTube personnel who subscribe to our channel. Just plug in that there for sure.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say is, besides the brain fog, something we actually was talking about the other day, Mike, your body loses that agility and flexibility, right? Because you're sitting down more and less activity happening, the hamstrings get tighter, the lumbar area get tighter. So you find you can't stretch, you can't bend. If you walk up some stairs in your house, probably you feel it. You know, any little exertion now, you actually wonder what's going on, and that's because your body is doing a lot less. You mentioned the 10,000 steps, and I used to get my phone ringing off when I hit that 10,000 steps every single day, right? And it has not done it now since 2019. So, it's like what's going on? You know what I mean? It's like, as you mentioned that, I was like, wait a minute, that is true. My phone has not given me that alerts. So imagine that in that space of time, I have not made 10,000 steps for my phone, at least with my phone in my hand, to recognize it. You know,
a little tip for the ladies, because I think this might help them to get moving a little more, keep active a little more. when they know what the repercussions could be, right? Some studies show that sitting for long periods of time, but the weight of your body pressed against your legs on the back of your chair could actually lead to the progression of varicose veins. Right? So ladies, sitting down for the whole day, it leads to poor circulation as well, blood pooling in the legs. A lot could happen there. Other than sciatica problems, it can lead to a lot of different things. So ladies and gents, get up and move.
Circulation.
Because the same comfortable chair to sit down for the whole day can lead to some problems eventually.
That is major. I wonder if people taking notes, because some stuff mentioned tonight. I mean, I know a lot of people going through this pandemic in their own way. People who get in new types of anxieties, people who have in fear of life right now. It's not the same, especially not for everyone. There are people who are extroverts that are bouncing off the walls. All right. I always wonder about people that live in apartments that don't have a space that they can go out to, so they might go on the fire escape. Right. I do that following on Instagram, Chico sitting down on his staircase, and it's because I want to go, but you can't go anywhere. So I always wonder about people, who in small spaces, children that are in small spaces that can't go and exert this energy, and they're plugged in after school. They might, same tablet or whatever they're doing. They don't have, space to go and run and play and stuff like that, because they're not having that because of no school. So we have to address this, as always, separate from what we mentioned tonight. The simpler stuff that we've always mentioned on the conversation, things like exercising, things like meditation, things like journaling, stuff that will help ground you, right? A lot of people use exercise to vent and get that stress out. A lot of people use exercise to help build more energy. Some people are just, the gym rats who miss it, so they'll just do what they do home, drop and do some push-ups and whatever, right? But always do these things that will help ground you. And I always say do something every day that makes you you. So if it's cooking, feel free to turn chef on an evening. If it's exercising, exercise. If it's writing, write. If it's listening to music, listen to music. If it's watching a series or something, do that. That is fine, as long as you bring it back down to yourself, to that internal part of you, so where you're feeling good at the end of the day. Because nobody else, regardless of all the tips we give you, you don't want to do none. Right? Or you can find the one that works, that helps you cope, that becomes the way that you deal with it on a daily basis. Because the pandemic is going to be here for a little while. You're going to have to learn to deal with things. Even if you get the vaccine and you're fully vaccinated, you're still going to have to deal with a lot of it, right? Still wearing your mask and stuff for a while. It's not going to just evaporate into thin air, all right? And you want to mentally keep yourself grounded. And even that, I'm saying grounded, and something as simple as walking barefoot outside, what they call earthing, to help, release that static energy from your body into the earth and help connect you and recharge. That's a real thing. You could Google it, grounding or earthing. Don't take my word for it, Google it, all right?
Chris, there's something you mentioned before, when you spoke about like the kids being on the tablet and going from device to device for the entire day. Most people are doing that regardless. Like, we start off the day on the phone or the tablet or the laptop or the TV, and we just go through the entire day engaged like that. Something I've been recently trying to do, my wife and I have been speaking about this for a while, detaching from stuff like this, like doing a digital detox. At least an hour for the day, not consumed by a device of any sort. Like Chris, you can go for a walk outside, you can just sit down and talk.
Now, let me test that though, because I really ask people ever so often, when is the last time they took off their cell phone? And most people just be like, turn off my cell phone.
It have a off button.
I personally detach from my phone and most tech on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So on a Sunday, that phone goes to the side. If I answer it, it's because I'm actively doing something. Otherwise, you're not going to get me. I might plug in and watch a show or do something else. So it is good to have that detox, that detachment from technology. All right. I do it for a day. Try it for an hour, people.
Yeah.
And I don't mean in the night when you're going and sleep, so you're not. No. I mean during the day. Now stop you from drinking.
Yeah, right.
I mean during
Because
the day.
a lot of people will say,
Right.
when I go and sleep as just with my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But how much people before they go and sleep lie down on the
Yeah. So even that is very dangerous. Huh?
Yes.
is when the phone drop on the chest
Or the
and they
head.
realize they're dozing off, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that blue light. And anybody can tell you when it comes to this. Oh, well, actually, that's our next great point. Getting enough sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sleep cycles have been messed up. Try getting more sleep.
Bad.
At least 6 to 7 hours of sleep is vital, right?
And it's possible if you're working from home. It's
It's
possible.
Thank you. But you see,
More.
once again, people tend to say, well, I can relax more on, you will watch TV till midnight and you don't prepare yourself for sleep. You don't dim the lights still on, TV lights still on, phone lights still beaming, you know. Come on, I have a setting on my phone from the time 9 o'clock reach, it takes off that
Night mode.
night mode
yeah.
one time. Right?
Change the color, your screen, change your
Correct.
settings for calls, everything.
Mm-hmm. Same here.
Same thing for your house. Start turning off some lights. Prepare yourself for that sleep mode. It does help. And then when you go and lie down, you don't need to check your phone again. You don't. Stop that habit. Stop it. Stop it.
Please.
All right.
Okay.
So-
You know, if we decide to do an audit on people right now, how many hours they can stay
Telling
without your
you.
phone, you see some low numbers. You know, let's be real.
Let be real. And there's the thing on your phone actually tells you how long you stay on certain
The
apps
screen
now.
time, yeah.
Screen time. Check your screen time on your phone, people, and see exactly how long and which apps you are living on.
Mm-hmm.
And ask yourself after that, do you truly need to be on these things this long? What are you
If
doing?
it's TikTok, yeah, I
And then
see.
TikTok, Facebook, you know. And then what people turn around and say, if that's something to do, I don't have no time. Oh, really? You don't have no
Check the
time.
phone.
Yeah.
But you just blurred 2 hours on YouTube, on Pinterest, on TikTok, on Facebook, on IG.
The only thing
hours disappear.
we'll allow is tuning into the conversation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah,
that's just on
yeah.
Tuesdays.
Educational
teaching,
content.
You know,
yeah.
for 1 hour, right?
Yeah, just
and
for
that's
1
it.
hour. Yeah.
That's it. You know, and we're saying it's 1 hour, and so we actually close to that time.
Mm-hmm.
So we do hope everyone had a great night tonight. And got some tips. You know, just to recap, we talk about decluttering and defining your space. All right, we talk about, you know, actually creating the time, setting those boundaries. You know, we spoke about, you know, taking breaks, right, or setting that focus work time, the Pomodoro method, and whatnot. We talked about making sure you get up from your desk or wherever you have your office. We talked about nutrition. We talked about drinking enough water. We talk about getting us. Listen, I think you all need to go back and just watch this whole episode over. All right,
Yes.
because
Plenty.
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 All right.
Right.
So-
yeah.
Right. So, I mean, as always, folks, thank you for tuning in tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And for those that follow us on YouTube, this video will be available over the next couple of days. All right. And you'll have that there. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, tell a friend, share, on the bell, everything, because you don't want to miss what is being shared here on the conversation. And we
Yes,
thank you for
sir.
tuning in. Any closing remarks, gents?
One, so for this episode is very useful. So if you have friends on Facebook, friends, enemies, frenemies, family, go ahead and share this. Just go ahead and share. Put it on their timeline. Let them take a look at it themselves. Let them take in the episode. All right. I just wanted to add that as well too, because there are persons who really need to hear this now. even managing your, we talk about managing physical energy, we talk about even managing your mental energy as well. Again, those who on YouTube, the reference link will be right up there for you as well, so you can click on it. You can actually follow that episode that we did on that some time ago. Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah. If I had to say anything, when it comes to the concept of work-life balance, is think about a spider on its web. A spider stays in a space, a comfortable safe space for itself, and manages that web by feeding, by feeding what needs attention at that point in time. If it
Oh,
feels
yeah.
a disturbance, it adjusts that disturbance. If it feels movement
yeah.
here, it adjusts there. That's how you find balance. Giving energy to what is needed at the point in
Love
time,
that.
and not spreading yourself too thin, because that's how you burn out, that's how you suffer, and that's how you struggle, and you know where it begins to break. So get a safe space for you as a person, as an individual, and then begin to feel out your environment, feel out what needs attention, and move to suit.
all right, that's it.
Awesome. Agreed. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. So, folks, thank you once again. And please, 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 let's adhere to all COVID-19 regulations. Continue to wash your hands, wear your mask, and social distance. All right. We'll see you again here next week. Good night.